That's how we own it.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Tamika D, Mallory.
It is your boy, Mysonne, the General.
And we are your host of Street Politicians,
the place where the streets
and politics meet. What's going on, Mr. Lennon?
I am blessed and highly favored. Boycott black murder, you know.
That's
feeling good. I got a haircut. Shout out to Bio, my barber. You know what I'm saying?
Bio the barber.
Yes, sir.
Bio's more than a barber. He's your friend.
He's my friend, my brother, but he happens to be my barber.
I know y'all, you know, we as women talk a lot about our hairstylists, but barbers matter.
Oh yeah, barber matter, man. If you don't got to get you a fresh line, you know what I'm saying? Thing got to be right. Can't do it. You know, if y'all out there listening on our house, you don't get to see how sharp this is, but this thing's sharp.
Oh, Lord. Well, let's talk about some of these news stories because we have a full show for today, and our guest that's coming up really deserves time and attention to unravel the American justice system and what we Injustice system. That's a perfect way to say it. So the Mexico kidnapping. I just saw that Mexico has now, most people know about this, 4 individuals, 1 woman and 3 men got in the car, drove through South Carolina, obviously to Texas, across the border into Mexico. And when they got on the other side, as soon as they got into Mexico, they were caught in the middle of a crossfire. There was some kind of shootout taking place, and the cartel stopped them. Someone in their entourage was shot, one of the guys, and then they made all of them get out of their van, put them in the back of a pickup truck, kidnapped them, obviously killed another person that was in that group. And finally, the Mexican government found them. Of course, you know, they have their ears to the streets, where, as we all know, within the Mexican government, there are members of or closely aligned cartel members. And so they were able to find them. And then they returned 2 people who are the remaining survivors. But now they have arrested and detained 5 of those individuals that they feel, you know, are involved with this situation, that they know are involved. And they issued an apology to America and sent now for, you know, extradition and prosecution these individuals to the States. I don't know if they sent them already, but they said they will. So that is what's happening in that case. Obviously, when we think about Shanquella Robinson, we want to see the same type of energy. And by the way, the Mexican government is saying that they're ready, that all they need is for us to send the first person, who we believe to be Dejanay Jackson, send her to Mexico for prosecution. They've now changed the charge from femicide to homicide to make sure that it aligns with the American charges, so that if America decides that, you know what, we don't want to send them back, what we would prefer to do is take jurisdiction and try the case here with Mexico's support. Mexico wants, they're like, whatever you want to do. Obviously, with a country that is not, it's not as rich in resources as America, they don't mind allowing America to use its resources to try this case. So it's up to us now. You know, it's up to the United States government to move forward, just like we see swift action with these individuals, which we want to see that, hoping that we'll see the same, you know, for Shanquella Robinson.
Yes, man, we definitely need justice for Shanquella Robinson. And it's just a lot going on in Mexico. A friend of mine's, man, that I grew up with since like 2nd grade was murdered in Mexico last week. I just keep hearing these things. So Mexico, I don't know what y'all got going on over there, man, but y'all gonna have to tighten up, man, because they out there taking them down out there, man.
But you know, the reality is, if you look at you know, here in the US, people are being murdered also, right? It's just that Mexico is smaller, and it ends up being that it touches people that we know, right? Or people that's close to somebody, you know, because it's so small. But in the US, every day, the murder rates are up, all types of murder rates, not just violence in communities, but racial violence, just all types, domestic violence, it's all up. And so we're dealing with a racist society and a racist world. And we're dealing with a violent society, a violent world. And until we do something about poverty and mental health and all those challenges, you're going to see even more. And I hate to say that, but I think we will. So last week, you and attorney Angelo Pinto, one of the 4 co-founders of Until Freedom, attended a rally, which was a big rally, a very spirited rally for a brother by the name of Najee Seabrooks, who was a violence interrupter in Paterson, New Jersey, that was shot and killed by police. Now, I'm told that police sat with him for at least 2 hours, or at least they were in the area. They knew he was having some type of crisis and breakdown, which, by the way, is very possible for people who are doing this work. Oftentimes, you find out all different types of reasons why people have been brought to this work. And once they brought to this work and once they get in it, that doesn't mean that the traumas that they've been dealing with go away. And so he was a violence interrupter working with the Paterson Collective, an organization out there doing good work. And there's so many violence and police accountability partners that we have, organizations that work with this brother. They know and respect him. And somewhere, during this time that police were dealing with him, after a certain amount of time, they say that he had a knife. This is what I heard through the grapevine.
Allegedly.
Allegedly that he had a knife and the officer shot him. I don't know. You maybe have some insight.
I never met the brother, but when I went out there and we were, just trying to help and try to bring some awareness and lend our voices out there with him that day, I met a lot of people, and the way they spoke of him is that he was really loved in his community, that he was one of those people who you can call on, you can trust. He has a large family. I heard a lot of his family is actually in law enforcement. So a lot of people know him. He was well known in the community. And, they said he was having some type of mental issue. And I heard that they was out there with him for about 4 hours.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of the violence interrupters wanted to go in, and the police wouldn't allow them to deal with them.
Wow.
He put himself inside, and then, allegedly he ran out with a knife. And I say this all the time, man. I don't believe a mental patient, somebody dealing with a mental breakdown, mental health with a knife, should be killed. I believe that there has to be a strategy. Because I am not a paid police officer. I don't get paid to do this work. And myself, I can disarm somebody with a knife. I believe so. Just me by myself. And I care enough to try to do that before I kill. Right? And we keep seeing these same situations where police officers are shooting people with knives, and they're shooting to kill. To me, it just doesn't make sense. It's not humane. It violates your human rights. And this poor brother should still be here, man. So my condolences to his family. Justice for Najee. They had like you said, there was a big rally outside of the Paterson City Hall. Then while we were rallying, they had a meeting with the government officials inside of City Hall. I didn't get to see all those because they wouldn't allow most of us to go inside. They only allowed about 50 or 60 people to go in. But, we're still working with the Paterson Collective and all other organizations that's fighting to get justice for Najee. So, we'll keep you updated. Hopefully, we still have demands. I heard that the officers were they were suspended and, put on leave. And I also heard that they're trying to get the body cam. So we have demands. They want the body camera. They want the names of the officers released. Those things I still don't believe have been done yet, but
right.
We're looking forward to it.
That's right. We're here to support the Paterson community and the organizations there. I was saying, I don't know, because I don't even have commentary for all of this anymore. It's just so much, and I remember talking to a police chief one day, and I was asking, in a situation where a mentally disturbed individual had a knife and was like running around wielding the knife. And I asked, what would you do here in this situation? And he said, I would get out his way. I get out his way. We would surround him, but get out his way and figure out a tactic for being able to take him down that doesn't include having to shoot him to death.
And the thing is, they have done it. I've seen that done.
I've seen them do it for Black people and white people and all types of people. I can't sit here and say only one group. I've seen them use that strategy, but and you know what? The bottom line is, when the police know who you are, and they knew him, right? He's in the community. You can't sit here and tell me nobody knew him. They did know him.
That's right.
When the police know you and these things happen, it begs the question whether or not they were glad or not glad. Let's not say that, but that, you were taken out with intention. We don't know. Speaking of police, our brother, Trey the Truth, as we affectionately call Bro, was traveling back to Houston last week when he was approached by the narcotics task force at the airport, and they harassed him, which he caught it all on video, and they went through his bag slightly, but I think at the point that they began to go through his bag with the video camera out, and also the way that Trey was communicating with them, they knew that they had overstepped. He said at first they threw a ball, like some kind of toy or something, towards his bag to allow the dog to kind of go over there. So it's all a form of entrapment. They're trying to see whether he's bringing something back. They throw this ball, the dog goes over. Somehow they say the dog gave them an indication that there may be something in the bag. Now, let me tell you why I think this is it's an important conversation, because I remember a few weeks ago when Gilly and Wallow were traveling, and Gilly was pulled to the side, and they went through all his stuff and accused him of potentially carrying drugs, of which he didn't have anything. So I'm wondering, and would love to hear from people, Black folks particularly, who are traveling. And it seems like a lot of Black men who are traveling, who look like they probably have resources. Maybe they got on expensive clothes and or jewelry. Maybe it's just that they're known, and somehow or another the word gets out based upon the manifesto, which is the flight that they know who's on the plane, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe somehow that's getting out, and that's why these narcotics agents are meeting our people at the airport. So I just want to hear from folks who are listening if this is something that you know about that's happening, because if it happens to Gilly, and then now we see it happening to Trey, where there's smoke, there's fire. So it seems to me that there's potentially more than what we know happening to our people who are traveling. Traveling has become it probably always has been this way, but it's become really a lot of like bullshit, a lot of racism and throwing people off planes. And then you got crazy people on planes doing wild shit. It's a lot going on in the air.
I mean, it's a lot. We've experienced, that firsthand. So we know all about that. And the fact that the way that we travel, we are constantly, faced with little things. We face, like you were talking about, the woman who was talking about your hair and how that was a thing for her, this Asian woman who,
weird lady.
Like, it was very, very weird, and and then you meet people who just got bad attitudes. They don't really want to be there. They don't think you should be there, especially when you're in first class. A lot of them look at you a certain way, but then there are some good ones.
We meet great flight attendants. I have to say that especially on Delta, I have met amazing flight attendants. And even though I do not support any of what has happened from us to Reverend Barbara, who had an issue on American Airlines. Our sister, Aventura Gray, she had an issue on American Airlines. And now we know Talib Kweli, we know Sha'Carri Richardson, we know Odell Beckham. I mean, the list goes on with people who have dealt with discrimination, what we believe to be discrimination on American Airlines. So I don't support that at all. But I will say that now there are many, I've met many flight attendants, gate agents, ticket agents, and others who work for American Airlines and all the airlines that are really good people. They're super cool, but there are, just like in any other industry, there are bad apples. There are people who do wrong. There are people who are racist. There are people who are disrespectful. There are people who hate their job. They hate their husband. They hate their lives. They hate everything about themselves, and they bring it to work and they infringe upon other people because they know that the power to either throw someone off the plane, call the police on people, or just do whatever they want to do to inconvenience you and to set you up. They know they have the power to do that. And so, yes, there has to be a balance, because I just saw the other day a man tried to stab a flight attendant, and, while he was trying to open the exit door, he was clearly unstable. You could hear it in the ranting and the things that he was saying. He was unstable. However, you still, even when balancing those types of things, you cannot lean on discrimination, and also you cannot allow people to hide behind those incidents where they are hiding their racism, their sexism, and whatever, and just the fact that they just can't believe that some of us have the resources to fly, have the resources to be in first class. So no, it's some bullshit. That's how I feel.
Bullshit, man. Shout out to Trey. And Trey is one of the most humblest, coolest, quietest guys.
Absolutely.
But when you piss him off, it's a whole different Trey, man. And he was very calm. He asked the questions that he needed to ask, and that's when I think they realized they fucked up, because he didn't overreact. He didn't give them no reason to say. He just wanted them to know that he knew that they was doing some bullshit. So hopefully, Trey get some type of closure behind that. Told him to reach out, write these people up, let them know that you've been profiled.
Yeah, that's right. He was profiled.
He was definitely profiled, man.
And I would love to hear from some white folks, if people are out there like, oh no, my boss, my so-and-so, they're white people, that this happens to them, is, because I'm starting to see this a little bit of a trend. And it's not the first time that I think it happened to Gilly. So.
Oh no, did it? I've seen him have this
Gilly
conversation about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, he smokes weed often. Trey doesn't at all. But Gilly smokes weed, so the
might smell weed
is probably on him. But no, that's not how things should go. Yes, of course, if they feel something is in your bag, we're not saying that they shouldn't be able to pull people to the side. But I've smelled all kinds of things on people. I have had situations where I'm standing in line with a white person or a white woman. Actually, it happened to me one day. And by the way, not just drugs. I saw a white woman in the airport smack pissy drunk.
Oh yeah.
And they still let her on the flight. But I know Black people that get escorted away from the gate.
They kicked Odell off. You see Odell, he was just tired. They kicked him in being tired.
I'm just saying, and everything, no, it doesn't have to be about race, but certainly we need some answers on what it's about so we can understand.
That's right.
So for my thought of the day today, I want to talk quickly about the report that has come down in Louisville, Kentucky, regarding what they found in relation to the police department there. All the civil rights violations that the Department of Justice has found in Kentucky, and in Louisville specifically, LMPD, the Louisville Metro Police Department, which we lived under for 4 months and watched them. We watched them commit crimes. We watched their corruption. We watched them, just everything. We watched them and their behavior was so much aligned with the reason why we were there in the first place, because of Breonna Taylor and then David McAfee. And there's been so many others where we know for sure that the Louisville Metro Police Department has engaged in illegal practices that violates the rights, the civil rights, and the civil and human rights of its citizens. And it's a lot to be said about the report. People should check it out. We're so far past discussing it and deliberating over it because we've been saying it. We've been saying that people needed to look into what's happening there. And because we moved to Kentucky at Until Freedom, along with all our partners and others and the local movement, the local community, because of the summer of unrest, it forced the federal government to have to look at Louisville. They weren't going to do it. So when people talk about, oh, protesting doesn't mean anything and it doesn't matter, it is exactly because of the protest movement of 2020 that we are able to see violation or charges, first of all, against officers, and now violations being brought to the forefront in terms of what they have done to the citizens there. So in my thought of the day, here's what I want to say. I'm trying to figure out what happens when a police department, and I get it, the consent decree has now come down where the federal government has reforms that they are now saying have to be addressed by the Louisville Metro Police Department. And if not, they have remedies and measures that they will take to monitor and not just monitor and or chastise, punish, or whatever. So I get it. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that when the citizens are in danger today, because the same police, you don't just tell them, oh, we have all of these findings and they just stop doing the bullshit. That is not how it works. By the way, today, the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, and the fucking gangs that exist within law enforcement in this country, they are going crazy about the report that came out from the Department of Justice. They're going crazy. It's racist shit going on Twitter, which I don't go on there, but I've been sent several screenshots. People are starting to get death threats, all the shit that happens every time they are held accountable. So you think that they going back to work and they just going to do the right thing? No, they're waiting for the shit to pass where they can get away with it like they always do. So the question is, what the fuck do we do when you know people's lives are in danger today? It needs to be some damn receivership. They should be shut down. Ain't no damn police department. It's a game.
The reality of the situation, though, Tamika, is that most systems of police run the same way the LMPD does.
That's a fact.
And nobody is doing the research, right? Like you said, we had to go there through this whole summer unrest, and we had to shine a light along with a lot of the activists in Louisville alongside of them who were protesting out there, who were getting arrested, who were being abused, who, when they forced people to look into what was going on inside of Louisville. But who is looking into all the other all the other cities and states around this nation that are doing the same exact thing? So what I suggest that now that we see what's going on in Louisville, after people have been telling you, look into a lot of all these other police stations.
And they have been. I have to give Kristen Clark, the head of the Civil Rights Division for the Department of Justice, a Black woman who comes out of the movement. She is a fair person. She's not sometimes I'm like, hey, what's going on with such and such case? She's like, there's no there. Like, I don't see it, right? So she's not somebody that's in there like, oh, I'm gonna just charge any and everybody. Sometimes they say no. Sometimes their department is not even willing. It's certain, I want them to charge all the, right? And so they're not able to do that. That's not who they are. They're fair, or she is fair. And her department that she is leading is attempting to be fair. So truth is truth. Facts are facts. If you look at the report of what it says about the things they found.
Y'all gotta read some of the shit.
And if you take that report and put it next to what happened to Breonna Taylor, entering someone's home without knocking on the door and properly informing, who you are, using falsified warrants, All types of shit that's in that report is exactly what happened to Breonna Taylor. So it's not us saying it. And so what I'm saying is Department of Justice has done it. In Kansas City, they have looked into the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, where we know there was an officer that was there raping, harassing, and violating women and their families when they refused to stop giving him sex or whatever they wanted. The department knew about it, didn't do anything, and there's been other violations. So they looked into that. That is, you know, they're also.
Well, we got a lot more to do. So I applaud the process and the progress, but keep on going. Rest the counts, all the counts.
There's so much work to be done, like you said, and it's sad because the next guest that we have coming up is a part of the same damn injustice operation that happens across this country. So let's bring on our guest. So, you know, as we were just saying, my son, we're being joined by a gentleman and his mentor, actually, you know, who knows all too well about the system and how we can our people easily get caught up in the system and just all the pitfalls and things that he experienced fighting against false accusations of rape. This is Amir Riep, who was a student at Ohio State University, and he knows all too well about the system of injustice and just how easy it is to get caught up and the difficulties of fighting when you're in the system. His mentor, Rashawn Walton, who is also a community leader, is joining as well. And we're going to talk about what took place in February of 2020 and what it's been like since Amir was falsely accused of rape. There's been a lot, I'm sure, Amir. We'd love to hear from you today. Thank you so much for joining Street Politicians. My son, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to say, man, you know, we're thankful that, you know, that you were, you know, exonerated of these false accusations. You know, being formally incarcerated and falsely accused of a crime, and I actually spent 7 years for a crime that I never committed. So I know all too well about how this justice or injustice system, as we say, works. So, you know, I'm glad that, you know, you were able to get the right, proper justice that you deserved. And we just want to be able to highlight you and talk about your process, and just so people out there can understand just how easy it is for something like this to happen.
Right.
So you know, you were a football player at Ohio State.
Mm.
And how old were you?
So I committed there on my 18th birthday. So I was 18 when I came in. Did 3 seasons with Ohio State, and then my season going into my senior year, you know, I was about to be a team captain and everything, and get on the field, be a true starter. That's when all the false accusations came about. So I was around, I want to say, 22.
So tell us the story of what happened.
Going into my senior year, we was getting ready. It was in the springtime, and then I had an encounter with a female. And then I want to say about a week later, I got a call from a detective and just telling me about what I was being like. Someone was saying that I did, which was rape, which I knew it was false. But as we seen, I had to go all the way to trial with it and fight for my life about it. Just over someone saying that I did something, which I obviously didn't.
So, you know, first of all, once again, I just want to say I apologize because, you know, you don't get that time back. You don't get the accusation. And those, unfortunately, we live in a society like when you tag with something, even afterwards, there's a process. Even after you exonerate it and you prove that you're innocent, there's a process of people that still just don't want to believe you. You know,
right.
I'm very good friends with the exonerated 5. You know, they're real good friends of mine. And knowing their process and what they had to do to just get their life back. You know, I know it's still an uphill battle. You were a budding football player, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you were on your way to being the captain of the team. You're about to get this true starter position. And then this allocation. What was the mind state that you had when this happened? Like, just explain to me like how you were feeling when you heard it.
So when I first heard about it, I'm like, no, this can't. I didn't believe it. I'm like, no, this can't be. Like, no, I know it didn't happen. So I'm like, no, this didn't. So I didn't think it was gonna go as far as it did. Honestly, I thought, it was gonna be a he say, she say, and we was gonna figure it out through that way. I didn't think it was gonna get as far as it did. So when it first happened, I was just this can't be true. And the second thing that I asked myself, and I was just wondering, was just why? Like, why would someone project themselves to lie and just ruin everything for another human being? That was my big thing. Was why. I just didn't understand the lie. Like, why lie?
And how did the school initially treat you? Did they ever give you a fair chance at, fighting for yourself? Or did you feel automatically that just because the accusation was made, that you were guilty?
So at first, when we first got the call, I was told nothing criminally was going to happen, like no charges criminally. I just had to deal with Title IX at school. So that was at first. But then when we got told that that something criminally would be happening, at that point, we turned ourselves in. And then from there, I just felt like it was just us against everybody else, honestly.
Right, because it was you and another young man, Jacine Went, right? So, okay, so he was also, when you say we, what you all experienced, y'all went through this process together. And I'm sure your family was involved. Like, who would you say was the biggest advocate that you had with you throughout this process?
100% my dad. But during the process, he did pass away in 2020, colon cancer. But definitely when it first happened, it was my dad. That's why I was looking to for answers. For anything, I can go to my dad. He was number one supporter right when this happened.
Well, so immediately, so after you were charged, you were suspended indefinitely from the team, let go, right?
Right. Yeah. By the time I was able to call my dad just to let him know that I was good, this is my call, they was already posted all over social media already. Mm-hmm. So by the time I came out, I want to say about an hour after, it was already, I was being charged with this, and to the world, I was guilty. So that's how it just came about.
It's so important that young guys who are on college campuses, even on their jobs and in other environments, that they hear your story. Because I'm looking at you, right? Nice looking young man, you look like a very respectable young man. This happens to you, and it's like, where do you go? Like, what do you do? And what's the lesson? So we're like bumping over each other trying to ask questions. But what I was going to say is that you were talking about people who, obviously your father, rest in peace to your dad, our condolences that you lost your dad in the midst of this. I can't imagine that. Like, your father is so proud of you up until this point. I'm sure he still was proud of you, but to know that he died with this hanging over your head has to be probably just one of the worst feelings ever. So, but then Rashawn is in your life as well, Mr. Wolf. So tell us about that. Like, how did this relationship come about? And I already see he's your big dog protector here. So
yeah, for sure. But you want to harp on it? Or you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll harp on it. So my dad and Amir's dad grew up with each other in Cincinnati. So that's their original connection. So his dad was always at my grandmother's house growing up, and so they grew up with each other. So that connection was always there. And then just growing up, I always looked up to his dad, for just as a mentor. I can go to his dad for anything pertaining to anything, if it's sports, women, college. Just anything sound advice wise, I could always go to Amir's father. So that's how that that connection kind of was rocking and rolling. And we used to always I used to ride with Amir's dad to Ohio State football games to watch Amir as well. So that's pretty much the relationship, and that's pretty much how we got tight and got close.
Oh, that's dope. So,
all right, and I'll further that because that was like the foundation. But I feel like during this time, I went to go stay with him in LA to go work out. He opened up his home to me, had a room. He trained me for free. to get me right, to keep me going on the right path. So I feel like that's when me and him, start building our own relationship outside of him and my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's dope. It's dope that you have people, somebody that you can bond with, in times of, you need people when you're going through stuff. There's a lot of people around when everything is good, right? When you was good, you was the star football player. You had everybody was calling, everybody wanted this. But I bet it got a lot less people started calling when you was going through something. So, shout out to y'all, the connection that you guys built during your time of, trials and tribulations. So how did this ultimately come to end? So you went through this process for how long? 3 years, 2 years? Like how long?
3 years. It went on for 3 years.
Wow, so there was motions, and they putting this motion, they putting it off. Then COVID came, probably pushed it even further. So you having one court date every year or something like that. And I know you just really wanted like to get your name cleared. You're going through this. You're a football player. You got aspirations. So what ultimately led to you being exonerated, to you being felt not guilty? What was that process?
So we went to trial. The trial lasted 3 days. So on that third day, they ended up coming with a non-guilty verdict.
And I know they was trying to get you to cop out, like just cop out.
So I took a polygraph first, so to let my lawyer know who he was representing, and just to clear up all the foggy spaces in everybody's head. So I took a polygraph, passed that. And then, so after that, I told my lawyer, I'm not taking no pleas. Don't come to me about a plea deal. I'm not taking it. We're going to go however far they want to go with this. And that's how we're going to figure it out.
So you took the polygraph so the lawyer would know and have full confidence to fight hard for you because you didn't have anything to hide. So, what was the one thing, or maybe it was more than one thing, that you would say helped to exonerate you?
The truth, honestly, the truth. Getting up on that stand and telling my side of it, and letting them jurors hear the truth come out. We all know when somebody, you might be a good liar, but your stories just don't add up. It's just hard to be like, that's a truthful person. But when you hear somebody that tells the truth and said the truth 3 years ago, and it's still the same thing that was said, I mean? I feel like you can just feel that, and when somebody is being real with you. So
I heard that through the process of this engagement that you had with the female, that you got her to give consent.
Yeah, so that was something that we were taught at school. We have multiple meetings about this. It's called Title IX. So when we hear Title IX, we automatically, in our head, we call it like sound bites. It's respect women. So we hear Title IX, respect women. So we have people come in and tell us how to deal with these situations. And one of them was making sure that everything was consensual. You get a video just asking, was everything consensual? Make sure you get it after. What I mean? Just things like that. So that's what that video was.
I mean, that's a lesson. A lot of these young boys are engaging, especially, they see you as a meal ticket. They see you as, a successful, a prospect to go to the NFL. And these people are trying to get in your pockets, man, and pretty your career. So that was very smart. Shout out to the coach, whoever advised you that this is something to do. I advise a lot of these young boys, and they think it's a joke, man. Sometimes you gotta sign a contract, like a bit, like it's serious.
Contract.
You might need to get your fingerprints, all types of stuff.
I'll say this though, to take it a step further though, just to avoid the situation. And me personally, I don't think we should even put ourselves in a situation to where we think that we would need that. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, okay, I'm dealing with this person. I really need to get a consent video to make me feel more comfortable. You should be already more comfortable with the person or the individual. That's the step I would say from that on with taking a video.
A little pushback I'll give to that. You really never know who's who, right?
No, you don't. You don't. That's real.
And that's the best scam artists make you feel like you don't need nothing from them. They know they're giving you things, they're making you feel comfortable. Nah, we don't need nothing. I'm good. No, they're showing you love. They're doing all of these things. But they already have a plan. So you can never get too comfortable, especially when you're in a position of power and success. You never know who's out there trying to get you, man.
That's true. That's true.
You gotta be very careful. So I'm really glad that you were able to overcome this situation. But what I want to know is, so now you're exonerated, you know, moving on with your life. What are your plans for football? What are you trying to do? Or is it still something that you love?
Of course.
Okay, so what are the plans? What are you trying to do at this point?
So at this point, we're in the process of finding a different university to commit to, so I can get my degree and also finish, my college career. And then we're gonna take the next step and go into the NFL after that.
That's a plan right there. He said, we going to the NFL. They ain't no, listen, we going to the NFL, man.
Hey, yeah, promises to keep,
That's right. And you got to do it for your dad. Rashawn, let me ask you, what have you learned throughout this process? And now as a community leader and as a mentor, what are some of the other things outside of just the consent piece that you are, talking the young men that you work with through?
Yeah, the number one thing is just tell the truth. So in Amir's case, the story he told day one was the same story that he told 3 years later on the stand. So always tell the truth. It's easy to remember the truth. Like we always say, the truth shall set you free. And that's what happened here. So that's what I tell everyone. Just tell the truth. In today's language, just keep it 100. Just keep it 100 with everybody. And typically that'll eventually get you out of any situation. Typically, that's what I say. And I know everybody's situation is different and every case is different. But it's a lot of people that have lied on themselves and taken a plea deal and said that they did some stuff that they didn't even do just to get a lighter sentence or get time served or just to be able to go home. And it's things like that you can never get back. Because once you say that you did something, that's forever going to be saying that you did something.
That's a fact, man.
And the last question I have on that is, you're right, tell the truth. And like you said, typically, because in some situations, people tell the truth and that still is not enough.
Yep.
But in terms of behavioral stuff, like how are you informing young men, especially people with such promising careers, their target? What are you saying to them about their own personal choices? Like, trying to choose. I know it's not easy to do this, but trying to choose the right type of people. And when you are engaging in relationships, like what's some of those conversations? If there's a young person that's listening today, what would you want to say to them? And I'll ask both of you that as a closing question.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot, especially when it's, a relationship type of thing or sexual encounter or whatever it is. But the number one thing for a lot of the premier athletes is you have to protect your brand. So for Amir, he's a humble kid, but he was headed to the NFL. If you do the research on cornerbacks coming from Ohio State, it's first round pick after first round pick after first round pick after first round pick. First round picks is automatic millionaires, generational wealth. So it's just little things like that that I tell kids, protect your brand. Because once, and it's, a lot of times you can't even control what a false accusation, but control the controllables, control as much as you can. The number one thing is protect the brand, because that's what people are always going to remember, and protect your name. Like, the Riep name in Cincinnati, Ohio means a lot. Like a lot of people know his dad. His dad touched a lot of people in a lot of different aspects. Mentored a lot of people, including myself. So always make sure that your name gets cleared. Protect your brand and protect yourself.
Amir, what would you say?
Only thing I could probably add is just building the right corner. You know what I mean? Having those people that tell you no. Not everybody that says yes is not really. You know what I mean? A lot of people just say, yeah, that is cool. Yeah, let's do that. Have somebody to tell you, slow down. Make sure you do this. You doing that? Nah, that's not cool. Let's go. You know what I mean? Just somebody there, not just saying yes all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to diversify your people.
Absolutely.
You got to have. You can't have too many yes men around you.
Oh no, yeah.
They'll yes you to death, man. Literally. So. Well, I just want to say thank you, man. Once again, I'm happy that you exonerated.
Appreciate that.
My prayers, and I know I'm gonna see you in the NFL, man. I know I'm gonna see you there soon, and continue on your journey, man. You know, continue on doing what you were born to do. Make your father proud. You know, Rashawn, you know, you're like what you call a guardian angel, man. You know, everybody needs somebody like that believes in them, that stands with them in times when it's tough, man. You know, there's a lot of anybody, like I said, everybody wants to be there when it's good, you know. So now this is like sometimes God does things for a reason. It clears people from around you. Because with
100%.
You took with you that didn't even deserve to go there with you. You know what I'm saying? So God got you exactly who you know who is going to be there when the chips is down. So they're going to be there when the chips is coming in too. So, you know, always see everything. You got to always see the blessing in everything, man.
Oh, for sure.
You see the blessing. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing. You know, I wish you the best. I know you're going to make it where you got to go, man. And nothing but love.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Shout out to Amir Riep and Rashawn Went. You know, look up Amir. If you don't know about Amir's story, he was definitely one of the best, you know, definitely headed to the NFL, and these false accusations slowed him down. They didn't stop him. As you can hear in his voice and you hear his energy, he's definitely motivated to be successful and continue on along his successful path. But he learned a lot of lessons, man. And, you know, being falsely accused and being incarcerated, I know those lessons. There was so many people around you when you was winning and things was good. You the top, you know, I was the top rapper, young, up and coming. There was so many people. Then when those cells closed, and you know, it was just me, you know, and there's only a few people that really gonna stand tall. So, you know, I wish him the best. Shout out to Rashawn, because when you have somebody like that who believes in you, that works with you, that upholds you, and gives you that energy, because 3 years going through that's
a lot.
About your whole life, your senior year, you were about to be the captain of your team, and you head into the NFL, and then this right here completely derails you, and all the people, the team that cut you, you know, people done distance themselves because they already believe you guilty, you know, before you anything. And then there's this one or two people around you that support you, and, you know, and lift you up. So shout out to Rashawn for what he's done. And Amir, once again, I know he's going to be in the NFL, man. Get us some tickets. I missed that, Amir. We're gonna
not me. Not me.
We're going to need, come on, man. We got to get a couple of tickets.
I need to give me the tickets first. You know what I'm saying? That's all right. I'll watch it on the TV.
On the TV.
Watch
it on the TV. So, you know, that brings me to my I don't get it. You know, it's been a lot of talk, and I've been having debates back and forth. And since the beginning, you know, I haven't said anything a lot lately, but, you know, last week, Chris Rock came out with his special on Netflix, you know, and he addressed the whole Will Smith and Jada Pinkett situation. And in my opinion, I just thought it was distasteful. I didn't, because, you know, it's been a year. You didn't say anything, and I wanted you to address it. Now I figured you would address it, but to continue on the same path with calling Jada bitches, right, and continue on. You know, you had a disagreement with a man, right? A man, and whatever disagreement, however that was handled, you and that man should continue to handle it. I think for you to continue to use your voice, and this is what it was based on. The disagreement, you know, a lot of people just continue to make it this G.I. Jane joke, you know, and me being somebody who pays attention and just been studying this, knew that it was before that. You know, it's been years of things, but I know it was mainly the 2016, you know, Oscars awards, and what he said at that Oscar awards, where Jada had called for a protest of the Oscars, you know, and him just diminishing their protest, getting on that stage in front of these white people and saying that, you know, their boycott was pretty much just bullshit, and she didn't even have the right, or she was basically just calling her nobody, like, you can't call no boycott, you nobody, you know. So I can sympathize with being home after I've sacrificed and saying, I'm gonna fight for inclusion for Black people because I know we're not getting it. And to see somebody that I thought was a friend to me and my family get on TV and diminish me and disrespect me on TV, that wouldn't have felt right to me. That wouldn't have felt good to me. You know, so I identified with that. And then to come on, and after all of those things, and knowing that we no longer are speaking, we don't have any relationship or anything, for you to utilize the same platform to say something else about me, it just was tasted. And now again, after, you know, the encounter, you come back and you still harping on this woman. And I don't see the manly shit about that. Like, I don't get, right? And what I really don't get is how people don't get that disrespect is, like, I put a post up that said, when you don't take disrespect off the table, then you leave violence on the table. Everybody, like, I'm not advocating for violence, right? I wish nobody gets hurt. But I live in a world where I know that if you disrespect the wrong person, the possibility of violence exists, right? I don't understand why people don't get that you can't have the same conversation with everybody, right? You might talk to Tamika, Tamika might say whatever. You might call Tamika a B word, and she might be like, you know what, whatever, I'm ignore it, right? But you might call somebody, the wrong person, that word, and the way they react might be something that you didn't anticipate. You can't anticipate somebody's reaction to disrespect. And I don't know why people don't get that part. Whether you agree with it or not, what I'm trying to say is we live in a world where violence is rampant. We were just talking about how rampant violence is. And a lot of it is based on ego. A lot of it is based on disrespect. So I believe in the Boycott Black Matter mantra, Boycott Black Murder mantra, that if we lead with respect, we cut down the possibility of anybody getting killed or any violence. Had Chris Rock never said anything disrespectful about those people, you think there would be any slap? No. Am I saying that justifies the step? No. What I'm saying is that if we are intentional about respecting one another, about saying, I'm not going to say that because that is disrespectful to people, and not saying I can say what I want to anybody, right? Because history has proven that that's not true. You know, one of the laws of power is be careful not to offend the wrong person. You can't anticipate how people are going to react to your disrespect. So, you know, I hope that they find healing in that situation. You know, once again, Will is asked to be the bigger person as somebody sits there and calls his wife a bunch of bitches and degrades him on TV, and he has to walk around and hold that in. And that's just supposed to be what it is. Once again, for years, you know, he's been doing it for 30 and 40 years, people disrespect and doing this. And another thing I just don't get, before I go off this topic, why do people think that whatever happens in these people's personal marriage give them a right to disrespect that man or his wife or their personal man? These people have been married about 30 years. They got two.
I don't know how long they've been married, but what I will say is, first of all, you know how much I love and adore the Smiths. And, you know, I am very clear that this issue is not just as simple as people see. And that's part of the problem, is that people really don't know. So they're just looking at the surface, and on the surface, you're 100% right. You just slap somebody because they're making jokes because they're a comedian, and you feel like, hey, what, you know, you can't do that because comedians make jokes all the time. And you should not, as an entertainer, take it so personally. But the truth is that this isn't just an entertainment situation, right? It's not just jokes. It's actual disrespect, like you said, and it's for a particular reason. You know, but I also understand that in terms of their personal life, people have no idea. They don't understand the intricacies and the details of their lives and what they have, what they allow, what they don't allow, what they've been through. But when you bring people into your life, you give them the ability to make judgment, to have a judgment, to have something to say. That's just the way the world operates. And so it's all fair game. I think, though, one of the things that I was thinking to myself is it's interesting.
What I'm saying, so listen, because I give you access to my life, right? Me and my friend, we give you access to a situation. Does that give you the ability to be able to disrespect me because you have?
No, but we're not talking about them.
See, you can make. Oh, okay, that's what I'm saying.
I was speaking about those people that have so much commentary. They have things to say, right? All these people. And what I'm saying is that when I look at the situation that most people are very focused on, which is with the young guy, I don't even know his name, and for the purpose of this, I'm not even going to try to remember it, but this young man, obviously, Will was not shocked or stunned by news of what happened between Jada and that young man, right? This is not new news to them. Their relationship wasn't in crisis. As a result of it, none of that. I'm trying to figure out, why is it that the onus is not more so with people looking at him as, why would he go tell as a man about his personal relationship with that woman? That's the part. I don't understand, why is the focus so much on Jada and what she may or may not have done in a marriage where clearly they have their flow of whatever they do, right? This guy, no, Jada didn't run to the news. Will didn't go do an interview and tell people nothing about it. He wasn't crying about it. Jada wasn't out there telling everybody her business. This man was the one who went and told the world, and yet I don't hear many people talking about that.
Because people live in coward culture, because men don't even have a level of understanding of certain codes like that you just don't do that. There was a time when men and who they slept with was their personal business.
Not anymore, because these podcasts is running.
It used to be women come out and say, well, I slept with this. Men are writing tell-all books about who they slept with. Like, I never heard of no shit like this. This right here is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. And they're being celebrated. Nobody is like, yo, this is some corny shit you're doing. Nobody is calling shit corny. And men are more mad at women than they are about men. Like, I've never in my life seen an era like this. I've never seen understand. I don't get it. It ain't for me. My mother and my grandmother told me that they could build a world over shit I don't get. And this is the world right here. I don't get none of it. So that's why I'm always going to have I don't get it at the end of the show, because I don't get it. I just don't understand what we're doing and what we justifying no more, man.
Well, I would say, though, that I think calling Jada a bitch is so wrong. And I think people sitting by watching it and laughing or agreeing with it, it's actually pretty sick. I just don't think that it's right, so I have to say that and be very clear about it. I'm not saying that I think Will should go beat him up, slap him, do any of that, because, by the way, you have to think too before you do certain things. You hit somebody the wrong way and they hit their head, they die, or something happens. You can't ever take that back. You can't take it back. And the words that they said, while yes, it's disrespectful, it's hurtful, it's harmful, it's all of that. Those words and even some of their actions will not be as important when you are sitting in prison or having to deal with a body on you, or now Will, as he has said many times, his staff and the people, these great actors and others that he was making room for, they suffer now because of the decision that he made. And so that's one of the things that makes him remorseful about what happened. And so, no, I don't think that you should just go up and slap people, even though I know I cannot sit here and say that I am exempt from it or that it's never happened, that I've never done it. I can't say that I haven't. So I'm not passing judgment, but I am saying that we have to think before we make certain moves and do certain things, because people will provoke you to put you in a situation that you can't get yourself out of. So that's all I want to say about that. I mean, but again, I'm just trying to figure out Why? I'm with you. The world don't make sense to me. Because in the world I lived in, like I think about my family members and the men, which there are many. I have many cousins, many. I don't know who they slept with. And sometimes that they slept with people, you know, you could kind of sense energy of people that's around. You bring your girlfriend, your own girlfriend, or you see somebody else with their girlfriend come around the family hanging out. The next thing you know, the energy is a little weird, but you mind your business. You don't talk about it. And as long as it ain't no big, you know, big scandal or whatever, people, I never knew the men to go tell everybody what happened. I never saw, that just has not been a thing that's happened in my life.
Now, social media exposed a lot. Social media exposed you to a lot of different type of individuals and shit that you didn't think was prominent. But in this culture, man, they celebrate the chatty patty, man. You know, chatty patty gets all of the props these days. So, you know, once again, I want healing in this situation. You know, there's two Black brothers. It should not be at odds. But I'm definitely not for anyone being disrespected. I'm not for men disrespecting women. I'm not for nobody getting hit. But I am aware, and this is why I am very cognizant and conscious of the way that I talk to people, right? Because I understand that disrespect breeds and opens the door for more and more disrespect. You know, so if we live our lives like that, if people are intentional about respecting one another, we'll see a lot less violence encounters.
Well, there we go.
There we go. And with that said, we come to another end of another dope episode of Street Politicians. Shout out to Amir Riep. Shout out to Rayshawn Went for the dope interview, man. I want to see that brother in the NFL. I'm going to see that brother. He give me front row tickets. I'm going to be at all the games. You know what I'm saying? It's my new best friend, man. You know, we got a lot in common. So, you know, I'm rooting for him, man. And we come to the end of an episode. Let us know. We the #1 podcast in the world. Let us know what you love, what you don't love. Give us some ideas, some topics. Tell us anything. Tell us what you feel about us. Tell us what you feel about us, because we love y'all, man. Street Politicians, we're going to keep being here with y'all. We're going to keep giving y'all this raw, uncut news and our perspectives. We're going to keep giving it to you. And once again,
there you go.
Always be right. Tamika D, Mallory, TDM is not going to always be wrong, but we will both always be up there. Oh, I just want to let you know that hair is kind of fire. That hair kind of fire today, Tamika.
Protective styles. It's the Black woman crisis. Let me tell you. If I had time to tell you the story, I would, but I don't.
You always got time. We'll talk about it later, man. We'll both always, and I mean always, always, always be authentic.
Peace.
Listen to Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio.
And catch us every single Wednesday for the video version of Street Politicians on iWomen.tv.